Adventure Stadium from Cards to Yards. It's a podcast about sports and sports cards. Brought to you by The Adventure Begins, comics and games located on 1488 across from the Escape Movie Theater. I am Chaz Graves, and with me are the main dudes of the show, man. We got Preston Laird and Mark Blair, man. Introduce yourselves.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey, Chaz, what's going on, man?
What's up, man? Is there a delay or no?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think
Cool.
I'm just, I'm overwhelmed by this news, guys. So we're just gonna jump right into this. So this week, um, this giant bombshell hits with a certain company who's been making baseball cards for 70 years. And by the way, last week, we were doing an introduction to the show, talking about the sports card industry, how it's on fire. And I rattled off like all these cards that have been selling for, records of millions of dollars. We went over our Grail cards. Chaz, if I recall, you said the 1953 Topps Mickey Mantle, because you remember seeing that all the time as a kid. So everyone knows what Topps is. Even if you don't like sports, they got Garbage Pail Kids. They have the cardboard license to Star Wars. So Topps was at the top. And then it all came crashing down. Like they were about to be the first baseball card company for all intents and purposes to be traded on the stock exchange. And within a matter of days, a company that sells jerseys was like, "Oh no, we're just going to make all the sports cards now from forever." So Preston, um, of course, what I'm referencing to is that Fanatics bought the MLB and MLB PA license. This is going to start uh, at the end of 2025. It's complicated because there's MLB license and there's MLB PA license. What were your initial reactions when you saw that Topps is going to lose this license, which they've been the sole proprietor of since 2009, but obviously have had that connection with MLB for 70 years? What were your initial thoughts on that?
Other than utter and complete total shock, it felt like almost I'd lost a family member, and I've spoken to a lot of people about it since then, and it's a very personal a very personal thing that's happened as far as change goes, that a lot of people are really conflicted in their minds and their hearts about. It's stirring up all types of emotions, questions, doubts, a little bit of hope perhaps for what might be in the future as a result of this. But overall, it's a sad day, in my opinion, to lose such an incredible icon in the sports industry that people have looked up to and followed for so many decades and passed down from generations to their children and such. And I just wonder where we're headed from here if, the long-term impacts are so fuzzy right now. It's really hard to gauge, what's going to transpire in the future.
Now, Chaz, I know that you're not as much into sports, which you've made clear, but you love comics and you love stuff. And also, Adventure Begins has had a really great selection of cards lately. How many cards in this case, baseball cards, would you say Topps makes? Like, I would say percentage wise, off the top of my head, maybe like 70%.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But well, anyway, I guess
That's
what
a
I'm saying is that it's going to affect everyone on all levels. Like you're going to have, we're going to have like the really emotional response, like Preston and myself, and then from a retailer perspective, you got to be like, what the heck's going on? Because all my baseball cards are Tops, except I got these Panini ones over here, but they don't even have logos on them, which we'll get into in a second. But Preston, the one thing I want to say. I also had like a similar response, like, whoa, because I just wanted to go like hug my boxes of unsealed Topps cards, to be honest with you, and cry in a corner. But
Yeah.
I will also say this is very weird and very complicated. I was all ready to purchase Top Stock when it went public. There's been this big SPAC deal with Mudrix Capital, and there was a few investors who really believed in Tops, and also, again, the market booming. So their value went through the roof. It was up to like 1.2 billion this year over the pandemic. People went crazy on cards. Tops is all about nostalgia, like you said. And then all of a sudden, it's like no, no deal, no deal. Like it was supposed to be announced like, earlier in the week. And then Friday there was rumblings of it, and then it's all based on this memo. So no one from Fanatics is making a statement. No one from Tops is making a statement. No one from MLB is making a statement. Um, so it's like this earth-shattering news. Is this like the Watergate of sports, or like what is going on here? And when are we going to know what's truly happening?
I think it's going to take a while to decompress all this information and then release it to the public in a manner that I guess they feel is best suitable. So it's just a waiting game right now as far as the uber details and minutia of the situation. But you know, of course, the feelings it's kind of a range of emotions. From sadness to anger. How in the heck could this possibly happen? Uh, to such an enormous part of the sports card industry. But you know why it happens. It's like 95% of why everything else happens in the world. It's all about the dollar. It's all about the mighty dollar. When you pay 10 times the highest known licensing fee ever for sports cards, then you're probably going to win 10 times out of 10.
And that's one of the tidbits that we're getting, is like we're being kind of told about how much this is, but then again, it's like I keep saying, it's super complicated. So kind of rounding back to that, what this means is, so Topps had a deal with the MLBPA, which is the Players Association. Now that ends at the end of next year, so 2022. However, they have a deal with MLB that expires at the end of 2025. So while we're kind of like heartbroken, distraught, and confused, on one hand, on the other hand, it's like, wait a minute, they can still make cards through 2025. So I think we probably still have 3 full more years of Tops baseball cards, if not more, which I'll get into a second. But you mentioned how this is like 10 times more of a deal than the players union has ever agreed to. Not only that, but so a couple other things happen where Fanatics is now, going to not only be the leader of cards as far as like having all the licensing rights. These deals that they've been making that haven't been official, that no one is talking about officially, but supposedly this memo that's flying around, it's going to be worth $2 billion from now to like 2045. So not only getting, we'll get back to Tops in a second, but within a matter of like 48 hours, it was also announced, oh, by the way, Fanatics is also going to purchase the rights from the NBA Players Association and the NFL Players Association, out from under the nose of Panini, who has done very, very well with both of those licenses, especially over the last 5 years. Because if you want fully licensed baseball cards with player names and logos and the official team names on there, you have to buy Tops. And the same thing, if for NBA and NFL, you have to buy Panini. And now it's all going to be Fanatics. So you might be saying, well, what's Fanatics? I've never, if you've ever bought a jersey from anywhere, especially like at a MLB or NFL or NBA stadium, you've most likely given Fanatics money. They have had the apparel rights for a few years, and they're just a giant online conglomerate. Well, what do you mean by giant? Well, they're worth almost 20 billion a year. So they are in a position to be your one-stop shop for sports things. We always talk about collecting all the things. Fanatics is going to be the be all end all. And since they already have Fanatics fan shops in most of the major league stadiums here in the US, they could be able to just set up and have like cards behind the counter, like stacks of hobby boxes. Now, again, this is all speculation. Another part of the speculation is, well, maybe they're forcing Topps and Panini into a situation where they're just going to buy them out because, again, Fanatics doesn't make cards. Like this is not something that they produce. So they would have to buy the factories, all the workers, everything. So they're thinking maybe there's a power play in place where Fanatics is going to swoop in, stop that, Tops from going, live on the stock market, which they successfully did, and then turn around and be like, well, hey, guess what? We don't know how to make cards. Tops, you do. Why don't we partner up? And if not, we'll buy you out. And same thing with Panini. But there's also some other players involved, and in this case, I think one of the main things to look at is Upper Deck because Upper Deck used to be once prominent in producing NBA, NFL, and MLB cards. We were talking about, Grail cards last week and iconic cards. The Upper Deck King Griffey Jr. rookie is an iconic baseball card. When Upper Deck hit the scene in the late 80s, that was like the big thing. That was your like premium card. So I wouldn't discount that, but all we can do is sit here and speculate because there's no details of this deal yet. And even when there are details, it's sounding like uh, these licenses hold out to between 2025 and 2026, as the Panini ones for NBA and NFL go to then. And while the Players Association deal for Tops and baseball ends in 2022, again, the MLB deal ends in 2025. So it's convoluted, it's confusing. It's just big news. To me, it's almost like if it was announced that, oh, Burger King's acquired the exclusive rights to hamburgers, so no McDonald's hamburgers after 2025. Like
Wow.
that's
Yeah.
what it's like. That's what it's like to me. But again, I think we have to sit here and wait because I think there's something more to this story. So,
Yes.
Preston, any thoughts on all that stuff I just excitedly blurted out?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think there's a lot. We got to go a lot further down the rabbit hole before we find out what's really going to happen in this situation. And going back to what you're saying about Upper Deck before I forget, why was Upper Deck able to have MLB licensing at the same time that Topps had MLB licensing? Do you know the answer to that by any chance?
No, I don't know. And the other thing I'm not really understanding is, so I get the fact that if you pick up a Panini baseball card, and Panini's making some nice products, like,
Yeah.
and they have the contenders, which everyone remembers from when it was playoff from the late 90s, and those rookie tickets. And I think like the Tom Brady rookie ticket just sold for like 2.2 million or something like that. And
Yeah, like
one.
more. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, see, and again, that's how hot this market is. So Fanatics as a company were like, "Whoa, we want in on this." And so they jumped in. You can't blame them for that.
Yeah.
But the weird part of the story is again that Tops was really they was supposed to be announced this week that they were going public on the stock market, and that just came to a
Yeah.
grinding halt. So this allegedly happened under their nose without them having any clue, and they found out the same way everyone else did. Now, if that's true, there's also some rumors that maybe they're trying to figure out legally, like, hey, is there anything we can claim here, or any kind of like, time that we can maybe get from a judge to make a counteroffer because they just feel like they don't know what happened. Like they must be more stunned than anyone in
Yeah.
all of this. But to answer your question, no, I don't know if it would be possible for multiple companies to hold a license at once. The one other thing I considered is, well, maybe Fanatics jumped in there while it's hot. Maybe they don't really ever want to produce cards, but now they can lease out that license to multiple companies. And
Yeah,
and go ahead.
I'm thinking that I think you might be on the right track when you're saying it's a power play. It's just a much more multi-layered thing that's going on, and I think that's a fantastic theory that they could be doing this just so they can make revenue off the licensing themselves. Um, because absolute worst case scenario possible would be your first, hypothetical if they were to actually stock their own shops that are currently in place with hobby products. It would be devastating.
Now and there's there's so many angles of this, and we're trying not to make the whole show about this, mostly so that Chaz can say a few more words before this ends. But Chaz, I do want to ask you a hypothetical question. What if you woke up tomorrow and they were like, hey, DC Comics has the exclusive right to comics, so no more Marvel comics forever?
They would definitely put out Wolverine. There
Well,
would never
yeah,
be no
but
X-Men.
right, and
They
and
got
you
the
know
exclusive
that
rights. I don't care as long as I'm getting Spider-Man. It doesn't bother me.
Well, I guess that there's really no mutants player union, so maybe they could play both ways. But that's kind of like what I think that's what Preston and I are feeling. Like to me, Topps is synonymous with baseball cards, and so like everyone's just sort of in like this big state of shock. But I think, as I've been saying, we just have to see what's going to happen because the card market just it's doubled in value. There's all these things going on. Preston, the one thing I would say, and this is somewhat playing devil's advocate, but over the last year and a half, I think one thing that is completely obvious is people want cards in their hands. Like they want more accessible cards. If Fanatics can find a way to do it in a fair way to help out guys like you, like Adventure Begins, like hobby shops, but also just get it into the fans' hands because one thing that as a fan of just collecting in general that has been so frustrating, it's just not being able to get the product and then like seeing it be flipped for 4 to 5 to 6 times on the market. It's frustrating, and as someone who's producing cards, they have to be like, how can we get this out to people? So maybe they do have a distribution system in mind, but without knowing the details, it's really just now you're scared. Like, well, are we going to get baseball cards, football cards, basketball cards? Are they going to be high quality? And are we going to get them in our hands? Like, can we get them? One interesting take I heard on all this is, can you imagine, like, so let's say you go to an Astros game and it's sold out and there's 40,000 plus people there. I'm willing to bet that maybe like 7% or less currently collect baseball cards. So, as a company like Fanatics, where they've been making so much money and having the value of their company go up and up and up based on, hey, they saw a need like, hey, people love sports, let's get this apparel into their hands. They could do the same thing with cards. Can you imagine if the market like just increased with the amount of consumers that they'll be able to reach at these games? That's the one thing. And I understand like the fear of like someone having a monopoly on the product and like, no, you can only get them in our store. But people going to the stadiums who don't know any better, who've never stepped into a hobby shop, who don't know that Target and Walmart even sell cards, let alone that Target had to shut down because four guys had a fight in Wisconsin, back earlier this
Yeah,
year. It's going to be crazy.
I do agree that, yeah, you would be exposing a lot more people to the hobby, as far as if the product were available more widely in their locations, and they have such an enormous customer base as it is already. Um, you know, are you gonna make up for all of the people that are turned off by the transition, with the amount of people that perhaps are going to be converting just from buying their jerseys and clothing line to sports cards. I just don't know if that's really uh, realistic. I think it's kind of a balancing thing, and it may go up a percent or two here, or go down a percent or two there in the end. But exposing more people to availability of cards, I mean, it would have an effect, but have getting your hands on cards isn't the hard part. It's now to go out and hop in your car and drive 10, 15 minutes down the street and find a hobby shop. That's the hard part. Okay, finding the cards is not hard. If you want to find them, just getting out and about during the day, then yeah, it's not quite as easy. But with our instant society now, with the internet, with everything available, I just don't think that's an enormous factor in people's decision making.
So you're afraid this is going to be like MySpace, where it was super cool till your mom finds out about it, and then the community's just like turned off and they go on to something else. That's
You
pretty
know,
much. I mean that is one way to look at it, where like it's not that this is like a sacred hobby or anything, but this is an important hobby to a lot of people. But I will say there's also a lot of people that have made a ton of money off of this
yes,
in the last year and a half.
yep,
Fanatics saw that and they're like, "Whoa, we could just streamline all this and make all the money on top of all the money we're getting." But look, we could go on and on about this, but we really don't know. So these are all
yep,
opinions. I put out the facts that we have so far. Um, and
and
just to kind of wrap up the top stuff, they do still own, they own tons of entertainment licenses. They do still own soccer, which we talked about last week. They own soccer card licenses. They have a partial license with the NHL, which allows them to produce stickers that some of you may have collected. And so it's not like Topps just went away,
no,
over the weekend.
the,
We know
with,
that much to be true. Go ahead.
with the popularity of soccer worldwide, the amount of soccer product that they produce, and it's growing exponentially. And like I said, in several years, once World Cup comes to the United States, and giving it even more exposure in the environment that we're in now regarding sports cards, it's going to explode. And I've been telling everybody that. So I don't think Topps has anything to worry about from a financial perspective. Perhaps they're going to have to cut back a little bit because obviously down the road they're not going to be having as much revenue stream from baseball. But at the same time, when baseball is being phased out with Topps, soccer is going to be reaching a peak. So you know they're a massive company. They're not going anywhere,
Yeah, I would
regardless of what
be.
happens.
I'm a little bit more interested to see what happens with Panini because not that they came out of nowhere, but I would say over the last, 10 years,
Yeah,
they've really become like, as far as like the high end stuff, I mean, that's the go to for collectors right now. When you're talking about uh, things like select football, and when you're talking about obviously Prism has just taken, we talked about it last week. People love shiny cards. Prism is the current Topps Chrome. Speaking of Topps. So it's really going to be interesting to see what happens with that.
yeah, and going back to transitions and licensing and stuff, if you remember, not too long ago, decade or however long it was when Panini came around, Topps was producing some fantastic basketball cards, football cards, which I would love to see come back if it were ever possible because they were amazing. And Topps was still kicking. Topps was still, extremely popular after they lost those two, sports. So I'm hopeful that continues, regardless of what unfolds with the baseball thing. But at the same time, from a collector standpoint, an investor standpoint, on the flip side, this is going to create more demand for current Topps product and past Topps product. So, as a long-term collector investor, or both, I think that you're going to see an increase in people that are buying Topps. to stash and to just put away, because if it's not going to be available, then they want to have as much as they can get their hands on right now for when it's gone.
And same thing with Panini. I heard about like Panini Contenders 2020 cases going from like 7,000 to 8,500 just on the news of people like buying it and stashing it. Just like, oh, just everyone's in a panic. Like, oh, this isn't going to exist in 5 years. Oh, again, we don't know.
Yeah.
We just know the hobby is kind of outgrowing, like just growing at a ridiculous rate to which we've never seen. And a company with $20 billion was like, I want to play.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's really all we know. So it makes for good, podcast and news stories and media craziness. But like but at the end of the day, we have no information and no one is talking. So
Perhaps they'll make a movie one day.
hey, they might. This could be this could be like the next GameStop, right?
It would
Like
be a very
we're
dramatic experience. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I would call it Tops Turvy. That's what I would call it. The whole thing. Even though
Yeah.
there is the Criterion collection of Topsy Turvy about Gilbert and Sullivan, but
Yeah.
our Topsy Turvy would have two P's in it, Toppsy.
At the very least, there'll be a documentary coming out about it.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, and there's actually HBO Real Sports this week is going to be about card collecting. So,
Awesome.
wow,
Yeah.
perfectly timely for then.
Check into that. Yeah.
So anyway, emotionally exhausting weekend trying to figure all this out, but then you just circle back and you're like, well, we really don't know anything yet. And that's kind of big business, right? Like we
Mhm.
don't know as consumers what's going to happen until it happens. I'm sure there's a million ideas floating around and people probably into panic mode and exploring legal options. So that's where we're going to leave it. Is like, whoa, this is crazy. But hey, guess what? You can go to the Adventure Begins right now and still buy Topps baseball cards and Panini football and basketball cards. So
That's right.
just enjoy it for now. Just enjoy it. Enjoy the hobby. That's what we were talking about in the first episode. Enjoy the hobby.
Yes.
So
We got a ton
Chaz,
of hockey cards. Lots of hockey cards for all of our
uh,
Magnolia hockey fans.
yeah, you still got cases and cases of the Upper Deck Extended Fat Packs.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you what, man. We're seeing into the future, and we know. I know soccer is on the rise, but hockey, that's the next big thing in Magnolia, Texas. I'm telling you, we're preparing for doomsday, for the winter is coming, and the Adventure Begins is prepared.
Oh yeah, man. Just wait for winter where it's 93 degrees instead of 99 degrees. Man, people are just gonna be like, oh, it's so cold outside. I'm just thinking of hockey.
Oh,
Chaz, you joke about hockey. I love hockey cards, and the
I'm not
one thing,
joking. I'm
and
serious. That's hockey cards.
one big part of this story is that Upper Deck is retaining their hold on the NHL license. Now, is Fanatics going to strike into that or just leave it be for now? That's one big part of the story. We do not know, but Upper Deck has had a firm grip on hockey cards. That doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon. And like I said, because Upper Deck has exclusive player licenses with LeBron and Michael Jordan, if I were Fanatics and looking for someone to produce cards for me, and also someone that's really in on this EPAC with the EPAC, they're in on the digital cards, so they have like a lot going for them. Like, what would the value of their company be? Could I absorb them? Could I license out to them? Because some of my favorite cards I have are Upper Deck basketball and football cards from the early 2000s. Like, but for now, Fanatics has everything but hockey
could
and
you
soccer.
imagine, Mark? Could you imagine if they brought back skybox metal basketball?
Oh, it would be insanity. Precious metal gems,
Yeah.
LeBron in the
Yeah.
Lakers jersey.
Are
Oh,
you
forget it.
kidding
Yeah,
me? That
yeah.
stuff. I mean, it would fly off the shelves.
Oh, yeah. It would be insane. And you talk about like the people loving shiny cards. You could do metal. You could do Fleer Flare. There's just
Yeah.
there's so
Flair was
many
nice.
there's so many possibilities.
Blair was like the stadium club of basketball. It was beautiful, beautiful cards.
Yeah, it just really the first set to really nail like the rainbow foil stock. But we talked about last week about Topps Chrome rookie cards being hot on the market and stuff, and um, but there was many sets from Upper Deck, specifically like LeBron rookie cards and things, and it's just
Yeah.
the market there's crazy possibilities, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Yep.
So Chaz, I will hand it back over to you as I am emotionally exhausted from all that.
Me too, man.
Here's my question. Never mind. We'll leave that. Check it out, man. Football. Are you guys ready for some football? I know I'm ready for some football. You guys picked your draft teams yet? You drafted your teams? Has anybody done a draft at all? Yet? Getting
I do.
into it?
I do auto draft, man. I do auto draft, and I know that's like shunned upon in a lot of leagues, but it's like I work odd hours, and sometimes it's just for the best. Like
Mark,
yeah, go ahead.
Mark, that's
Yes,
like going to the restaurant and saying to the waiter, "Go ahead and just get me what you would like to eat for dinner."
and then you might find your
Hey,
new favorite food, and
yeah,
you
because
might
he's
find your
gonna
new
go to
favorite
a
food.
different restaurant and bring it to you, right?
Yeah.
He's ordering you a pizza while
Okay.
you're at, Jack in the Box.
I actually accidentally auto drafted my first fantasy this year, and the roster turned out amazing. It was
Yeah,
like
there
the
you go.
second best draft out of 10 teams. I was shocked, but very, very happily surprised. But I'm in a couple of leagues that are drafting on September 5th, so I'm still doing my research and doing my mocks and figuring out my strategies. So it's super exciting. I can't wait. What about you, Chaz? What kind of leagues are you in?
Oh yeah, man. We got I got a couple. I got some friends, some buddies, and a family league we do every year. And yeah, so it's a lot of fun. I really get into it, and I really get invested. So yeah, man, I can't wait because they usually come out on the top. I mean, I've won a couple, So,
Uh,
but yeah, I'm ready to kick some butt
I
this
may have
year.
an open
Came
spot
second
in
last year.
one of my leagues if you're interested.
Yeah, you're down. I'm totally down.
I got a $50 league and $100 league, so you let me know, man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, dude, I'm down. I'm interested. The NFL. This is really sports news that could affect the card market since we're talking about cards and all that jazz. Trevor Lawrence wins starting job. How you guys feel about that? Starting against the Texans.
Well,
Well,
you
like
know, we
They're tied
we
right
did
now.
our we did our Nostradamus last week and told you what we thought, and that's exactly what happened, huh, Mark?
yeah, you called it. Like, Urban Meyer for the Jacksonville Jaguars, he might have been playing some mind games with the media, but it was pretty obvious. Trevor Lawrence, the number one pick. Everyone's known he's going to be the number one pick for the last 2 years with the way that he played at Clemson. If you're the Jacksonville Jags, why not? They did get some devastating news. One of their other first round picks, their running back Travis Etienne, he's out for the year. So, and he
Yeah.
was looking to build a high power offense there with Trevor Lawrence. He also came from Clemson. So that's unfortunate. Hopefully he can bounce back next year. But yeah, so this Texans defense that we have no idea what they're going to play like, they're going to be tested by one of the most buzzworthy QB prospects in a few years. So that'll be fun. No, it will be fun. It'll be. I'm interested to see what Trevor Lawrence does. He carries himself very well on and off the field, and I think he's going to be really good. So no brainer for the Jaguars. No brainer. Number one pick. Let's go. That type of thing. Now, Preston, there are more quarterbacks and rookie quarterbacks than just Trevor Lawrence, as well as other rookies. And a couple that have caught my eye are Zach Wilson, quarterback for the Jets, Najee Harris running back for the Steelers, QB for the Bears. That's sort of who I'm keeping my eye on the first month or so of the NFL season. What do you think about those guys? And are there any other rookies that you've seen maybe pop to where you might want to run out and grab their cardboard?
Justin Fields for the Bears. I think all three that you named are at the top of the list as far as expectations and what they've kind of shown in the preseason. You know, Justin Fields has shown some flashes, but I think he's got some growing up to do to get some consistency. But Zach Wilson looked really composed and like he meant to be there. He was meant to be there. So I think Zach Wilson's got some big things ahead of him. And for the Jets fans, that's a nice thing to look forward to because they haven't had a whole lot of good stuff to see on the field for many years. So I'm kind of excited for the Jets fans. And then Najee, Najee, I think is going to be a beast. I think he's going to be in the running for Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year. I'm really not sure if there's a quarterback. I know a lot of times people want to pick quarterbacks for Offensive Rookie of the Year, you know, six times out of 10, but I just think Najee is heads above this class as far as the production I think that we're going to see out of him in his rookie season. I think Zach Wilson could put together some good numbers, but he just doesn't have a lot of weapons. He's got a limited offensive line. I mean, they're decent, but nothing incredible. So yeah, that's my opinion on that. I mean, there's several other rookies out there that we're going to be looking forward to seeing and have some high hopes for, but. I've also got my doubts about Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor's going to be good, but something in my gut just tells me that I think that they're heaping a little too much pressure on this kid, and I wonder how it's going to affect him when he gets on the field.
And that's just kind of always the $1 million question with rookie quarterbacks, right? And we talk about quarterbacks so much because being a sports card show talking about trading cards, that's just what people gravitate to. Like so it'll be interesting to see if Najee Harris can break this run of the quarterbacks dominating the sports card market because that's all it was last year. I mean, and the year before that, and so it'll be interesting to see. The pressure evaluation on Trevor Lawrence, that's fair. And remember, Peyton Manning looked terrible his rookie year, and he just got crushed and pummeled. But he did show a certain poise, and then the numbers started coming almost immediately after that. So, especially like kind of plugging and play a quarterback and then just throwing them out into the fire. It can go 50-50. It can go any type of way. So we'll just have to kind of look at that.
If you look at history, history's pretty much right 100% of the time. The vast majority of these QBs, I don't care how much hype you put on them, the vast majority of them are not going to live up to that hype. A lot of them will fail and be out of the NFL in another 3 or 4 years or less. Like you were saying last week, the term generational talent is so overused these days because I think a lot of it is the hype surrounding, around the financial aspects of the collecting market, and that's why a lot of this hype is thrown out there. It seems like it's a little bit more heavy these days than it was, 15, 20 years ago for a lot wider scope of players versus, you have 3 or 4 that they really hype up and that was it. Now you've got 15, 20, 30 players that you're hearing hype on every year. And just a very, very small percentage of those players are going to turn out to be, long-term Hall of Fame, potential type players.
And just to wrap up NFL and prospects, speaking of quarterbacks, you looking at any from last year to avoid a sophomore slump? Who do you like from last year's QB class to emerge this year?
I think Jalen Hurts is going to surprise some people. I think after being in the system for a year under his belt and having that starter role, to start the season is going to give him a lot of confidence. I think his teammates are confident in him. I think you're going to see some growth from him. And I also think that Tua is being kind of poo-pooed a little bit because of his lack of luster in his opening season. I think that he is going to surprise some people because his knowledge of the playbook is going to be better. I think a lot more time in the study room and practice time with his players, and not to mention he's getting a fantastic rookie receiver and Jalen Waddle, and they got Will Fuller coming back in game 2 after his suspension's over. They've got a lot of talent on that team. I think Miami could surprise some people. And also Joe Burrow, unfortunate injury last year that brought him out of the season prematurely. And I think that Joe Burrow is going to blow people away. He was absolutely amazing before he got hurt, and I don't think that that's going to slack up. And you've got Jamar Chase coming in from LSU, and I think he and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Boyd are going to make some magic this year.
Right on. Yeah, for sure. Tua, we know that's Bill's boy. Tua.
Yeah.
So he's on
He's
his
my
side.
boy too. I'm a huge Alabama fan, so I love Tua as well.
Right on, man. Well, I think as far as Herbert goes, as long as the Chargers bolster their offensive line, man, they can keep him clean. They might have a future MVP, possibly.
Yeah.
I don't think he's exactly gonna be sneaking up on anybody, but I mean he's pretty solid throughout. So I mean, really, any of those QBs right there, I think it's gonna be great season.
Yeah, he catapulted over, Burrow because of the injury and because of his performance last year, because the preseason hype was 100% Burrow. I mean, people thought, Herbert was a good QB, but no one had any clue that he was going to perform the way that he did. And, and seeing his cards go up over the course of the season is a direct result of that. I mean, they went from, you can get $100 rookie card of his, autograph card, preseason, and then mid-season that same car was $700-800. So that's what can happen.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I like to see him play because he's definitely really, really good under pressure. I mean, hey, he's just a lot of fun to watch, and I'm not exactly a big Chargers fan, but it's always a fun game. Yes, no joke. Right?
Chargers have always had the coolest uniforms, man. Ever since I started watching football. And Dan Fouts, man, I love the Bolts, dude. Everybody loves the Bolts.
For sure. Hey, man, moving on to baseball. Miguel Cabrera, man, he had his 500th home run on Sunday, and I'm sure that's done quite well for his rookie card holders. Am I correct? Do you have one of these? Do you guys have one of his rookie cards by chance?
I do not. But I'm still looking into it, and here's why. So he became the 28th member of the 500 Home Run Club. When you think about how many baseball players there have been and how long this sport has gone on, that's incredible that there's only 28 members.
That's out of a little over 20,000 MLB players that have played the game. He's only the 28th out of over 20,000 to play the game.
And so you might be thinking, well, okay, so his rookie card has jumped about 50% since July because, people typically, not everyone is sitting there doing all the math and knowing everything to look for about upcoming Hall of Famers or career stats and going online and trying to find these cards. So some people do, and they have a quick payday and then they're done with it. Some people get these cards and hold. If you're looking to get these cards and hold, I would definitely look into the Miguel Cabrera, speaking of Topps Chrome, his Topps Chrome rookie card or just his Topps 2000 update card. Because although he's a member of this elite club, 28th member of the 500 Home Run Club, he's just 42 hits away from the 3,000 hit club. He's got 2958. Only 6 players have ever done this. Hank Aaron, A-Rod, Albert Pujols, Willie Mays, Rafael Palmeiro, and Eddie Murray. That's pretty elite class, right,
Yeah.
Preston? So I think there's still room for growth in the long term on Cabrera rookie cards.
Oh, for sure. Most definitely. What if I bet he's excited. that's one heck of a party. You know what I mean? Once he gets into that club.
Oh, he's going to be a Hall
Yeah.
of Famer. He'll be a Hall of Famer for sure. He's a shoe.
Oh gosh, yeah, first ballot Hall of Famer. It's kind of funny because I met a guy, I don't know, it was probably 12, 14 years ago. Cabrera had been in the league for a few years already, and his cards were pretty darn high at the time. And I met a guy that was collecting the rarest of his rookies. I think there were, I don't know, maybe 1,000 of them made with autograph. And at that time, I think there were $600 or $800 card, which was pretty darn steep for that time. And he says, "Yeah, I'm collecting Cabreras because I think he's gonna get over 500 homers, and this is for my kids. This is for my kid's college." And his kid was I think 2 or 3 at the time. And I wish the heck I could talk to this guy because I bet if he held on to the cards long enough, if he held on to them, at this point, then he's sitting on quite the haul of Miguel Cabrera cards. And really in the past several years, Cabrera's kind of flown under the radar because he has slowed down as far as his skill level, and he's not producing at the level he once was. So people have been kind of sleeping on him and haven't been looking at the big picture. And I'm one of them, and I know better. I wished I had been buying Miguel Cabrera years ago, as I should have been. But yeah, his cards have been pretty affordable, up until I'd say the last 6, 8, 9 months. Before that, you could have gotten quite the deal on some Cabrera rookies.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, so you missed that chance, or not missed the chance, but you're not able to find that guy and talk with him, which I'm sure that would be a very interesting conversation. But
Yeah.
here's a chance for people to buy some cards with some people who could possibly join this 500 club for sure.
Yeah.
Nelson Cruz, right? He's at 443 homers, and Robinson Cano, 334. There's a few of these guys we should watch out for. Yeah.
You got Giancarlo Stanton, aka Mike Stanton. He's 31. In my opinion, he's got the best chance of getting to 500 if he can stay healthy. He hasn't played a full season in 100 years, so I'm not sure if it's possible. But if he can stay somewhat healthy, realistically, I think he can do it. You got Justin Upton, Joey Votto, who are over 300. Justin's 33, Joey is 37. I really don't think that either one of those have a realistic chance of it. And Nelson Cruz at 40 years old, at 443 homers, I think it's a stretch for him. But Pujols, he's eked out another 4 or 5 years longer than I thought he'd play, and squeaking out 10, 15, 20 homers here and there. So it's possible. I just I'm not sold on Nelson Cruz.
Well, here's one that could definitely do it. Mike Trout.
Oh gosh, yeah.
29 years old, the only player in their 20s with over 300. I mean, he's definitely got a lifetime ahead of him in baseball years, it seems like.
Yeah.
So he could definitely do it. But he's a popular player anyway. You see Mike Trout cards all the time, and people get really excited about those. So
he's definitely top 3. As far as the current players that are collected most, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. Most definitely. I know when we do breaks, people, when they get on Mike Trout, if we pull a Mike Trout, they're very excited. And the other people who are participating or just watching always comment on the Mike Trout cards.
Yep. Landing a Trout is always fun.
That's awesome. Cool. What else? Are we doing soccer?
We're doing soccer. Of course we're doing soccer. We talked about how soccer is going to be the sport in trading cards sooner than later, and it probably already is. It's just here in the United States, it's like your choices are like, Topps MLS, and people aren't super into it. But look, we talked last week about a certain transfer of a player named Lionel Messi to Paris Saint-Germain, and he was going to team up with Kylian Mbappe, and it was going to be a super team, and collectors rejoiced and all this stuff. Well, now we're getting wind that maybe Mbappe doesn't want to be there. Real Madrid offers PSG $160 million just for transfer rights. That's how soccer works over there. It's not like over here. So $160 million transfer was turned down by PSG for now, but now Mbappe's contract runs out next year, and he could leave on a free transfer, which is the same here as like an unrestricted free agent. He's always promised PSG that when he leaves, he will make sure that they get something in return. Well, $160 million may not be something that they want to turn down. Especially if it comes to that or zero, that is an insane transfer fee for 1 year. So, um, now this all comes on the heels of this week is when Messi is going to make his debut for PSG. So Mbappe scored his first goal of the season. Messi's coming in, everything looks great, and then all of a sudden it's like, maybe I'm going to go to Real Madrid, and maybe they're going to pay like the craziest, highest transfer fee in history of all time. PSG says they're not interested, but I mean, I think we don't know. I think how can you not be interested in the $160 million transfer fee?
Right? Because they can get more. That's why.
Well,
And
yeah,
they know it.
maybe, but if they kind of if they're if they're too gun shy, the problem is going to be if it gets to June 2022, they're going to lose them and get nothing in return.
That's
So,
true.
you might be
I,
forced into a move just to get something in return.
I think it's just a play that they're doing back and forth right now. That evidently the two clubs are on good terms, and they have been for several years, and they don't want to ruffle each other's feathers. So I think it's kind of just a friendly game of cat and mouse right now, and it'll work itself out in the near future because of course they need to get something back for him rather than just letting him go to free agency. That's a no-brainer. So it would be very surprising if they didn't come to some type of agreement if he decided that he absolutely did not want to be there, which it seems like that's the case. On another note, on the same topic, just in the news yesterday, Ronaldo is close to an agreement with Manchester City in the Premier League, which would be absolutely incredible. He'd be going up against Messi again, and that would really, increase a lot of interest in soccer. With some of the normal Joes here in the States, I believe, without a doubt. What do you think, Mark?
Oh, that would be incredible. As you know, there's a few names in soccer where the world just stops and pays attention to what they're doing. And Chaz, am I to take it that you're not one of Mbappe's 56.8 million Instagram followers?
I do not follow.
Okay.
But I do like the name though. That's really fun name. I do
Reminds you of
like.
a Hanson song by a certain name. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. It does.
But yeah, so he has 56.8 million Instagram followers, so kind of a big
Yeah.
deal. But yeah, back to Ronaldo. Oh, that would be incredible if he joined the Premier League. Like, there's just soccer is so big. Like we think that with TMZ Sports that we follow sports, sports
Yeah.
too closely and like too much into their personal lives, but we have no idea. We have no idea
Sock.
what these footballers go through on a daily
Okay,
basis.
football is serious business across the pond, my fellas. It is
Yes.
serious. All right,
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
everybody's seen you seen the people fighting over sports cars at the Targets here. That's like kids in the playground compared to what happens at some of the heavy duty football matches over in Europe. That's for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
The
Yeah, for sure.
hooligans.
So the only thing that they're waiting on as far as Ronaldo, right, is just a a transfer fee. Aren't they just waiting, or has that been discussed yet? Last time I heard, they were waiting on a dollar amount. Oh, I think it was like 33 million at the time. But
Not 100% sure on all the
yeah,
aspects of the transaction right now,
oh,
but
so it hasn't been laid down yet. So it's still kind of up in the air at this point.
yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with his personal decision as well. So I believe it's going to happen, but we'll see.
That's awesome. Right on, man. Right on. Well, I know that name because I know, he's a really well player, Mbappe. I'm gonna have to check out his Twitters, my friend.
Yeah, Mbappe is awesome.
I, I like it. How about we talk about new and recent releases? We got the Panini Certified Football. Dude, I'm telling you what, man, it seems like when the cards come in, they know. I feel this is
They
like
do.
how those people, like how the distributors from Target feel. I think that
Well,
you're gonna have to get like a restraining order put on you, Preston, because you could. I mean, they're just like frothing at the mouth. They're like, hey, what do you got? Now they're
well,
not as. I'm sure they're not as annoying as the Target people. They are very
well,
nice and they're very courteous and whatnot. So,
I
but
am, partially responsible for this behavior because I certainly condone it, and I do make myself very available for our good customers, and I'm in communication every day with sometimes a dozen to 20 people, talking about new releases, what they're interested in, what kind of hits they've gotten lately. So I really like to create a personal relationship with my customers that have actually turned into some really good friendships. And so I'm always available. If you're in the shop and you're getting cards, come talk to me. I'll give you my personal number, and
yeah.
we could chit chat back and forth. I'll talk cards with guys till 3 a.m. sometimes. So I absolutely love what I do. As far as new stuff coming in, yeah, we've got Panini Certified Football. It's actually landing today, which by the time you guys see it, it would have been a few days ago. But we've also got Topps Pro Debut Baseball. That's like some of the first signatures of minor league players that you're going to see anywhere. It's a lower end product. It's at a very affordable price point. You can get 3-4 autographs per box, depending on if you get a standard hobby or a jumbo box, and they start at $80 and go up from there. So really fantastic value for somebody that's just looking to get into the hobby, don't want to spend a lot of money, but have a lot of fun breaking something.
And
And
that box
next week,
itself, sorry,
huh?
that box itself is just like loaded down with autographs. It's got tons,
Yeah,
right?
they're loaded, man. The hobby box is 4, and the jumbo boxes are 3 autographs per box. So yeah, you could get a $80-$90 box of cards and get 4 autographs. Fantastic.
Right on. Very
And
cool.
next week, we've got Topps Major League Soccer Chrome coming out, 5-star baseball hobby. We've got Panini Black Football that's coming out September 3rd. We've also got some Leaf Trinity football coming in, and then some multi-sport Break King stuff that's hugely popular as well.
Right on, right on.
And Chaz, on that Topps Pro Debut Baseball, my favorite thing about baseball, the rookie system, the A, double A, triple A, is the names of these teams. So if you're a fan of minor league baseball and crazy team names, oh, is this set for you? Just some going over the checklist here. We got cards from the Carolina Mudcats, the Portland Sea Dogs, the Hickory Crawdads, the Pensacola Blue Wahoos. One of my favorites, Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. I mean,
I
and
love
then
it.
I'm partial to the Astros affiliate, the Round Rock Express, of course,
Yes.
named after Nolan Ryan Express. And also probably one of the best mascots out there, especially when you look at fan art, the Montgomery Biscuits, because it basically just looks like a biscuit with googly eyes, and it's fantastic.
It'd be cool to have like a giant biscuit with like a glob of honey running down it or something.
Yeah, Akron Rubber Ducks, that's another good one.
Free biscuit day at the
Hey,
at the game.
it's what about Sugarland? Are we getting some minor league cards? I mean, the Skeeters. Come on, that's a fantastic name, the Sugarland Skeeters.
So no, I was like scouring the checklist, hoping that that was the case, but maybe because this is their first official year, that did
Yeah.
not happen. But if you look at another interesting thing about Topps Pro Debut, is if you're a fan of like spring training, they have like the Arizona League and the Grapefruit League on here.
That's
So
cool.
I mean, it's just an awesome checklist. And you might be like, well, I don't want to buy, a bunch of players I haven't heard of. Well, guess what? You're gonna have heard of Wander Franco in a year or
Yeah,
two if you haven't already.
that's right.
So you got him in there. You got Bobby Witt Jr. as far as gigantic pro prospects coming up. But then you have some throwback sets where you have like MILB legends. You got Jeter in there, along with some other Hall of Famers, like they already said, loaded with autographs. Just
Yeah.
and you have autographed those MILB legends like Jim Thome, Nomar Garcia Parra, Andy Pettit, Andrew Jones, Miguel Tejada, CC Sabathia. So it looks like a really fun break. Like I also like the Topps Heritage Minor League Baseball because you just get to see these fun jerseys and crazy names. And while most of these cards won't be regarded as true rookies,
Yeah.
it's fun. And if
Oh,
you hit
yeah.
a Wander Franco auto, like all
And,
the more power to you. So.
and that's part of the hobby that I've never quite understood is the stigma that is put on these first appearance autograph cards because Kyle Tucker, for instance, one of my favorite Astros, he's got some cards that came out in like 2011, 2010 that were inscribed autograph cards when he was in college, and his official rookie, his first Bowman appearance wasn't until 2015. So here he's got a card that came out 4 years before, and yet the value is just a small percentile of what his 2015 first Bowman card is. I never understood why there was such a discrepancy between these because I always thought that, man, the first cardboard that you sign, it seems like that would be very, very desirable, but in the sports card collecting world, that's just not the case.
Yeah, it's and especially when you start thinking about all the stadium giveaways that they do at minor league stadiums with like
Hmm.
cards that have to be
Yeah.
super rare. And I think maybe 5 years from now, when graded cards are just like everyone that collects grades their cards, and you have like these really low print run of like stadium giveaways, you might start seeing an uptick in the value being placed to the minor league cards. But for the most part, I think with Topps Pro Debut, it's just fun to get players from your team in different jerseys. Like they even have one set that's sort of like this musical theme called Minor League Scale, and it shows the player in each like the single A, double A, and triple A jersey on one card. And that's just cool to me. Like I love minor league baseball and all the excitement of the prospects that happens, and just like the fun quirkiness of the teams and the team names, like we said.
The team names just sound like, the old like 19, 20, 30 names, and they're just like, we're not going to change them. Let's
The
just keep them
Montgomery
the way.
Biscuits. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they're still spitting tobacco and all that jazz on the
Oh,
fields.
absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, so those are, two of the main sets coming out, Topps Pro debut, and then of course with the football coming out from now on, especially with the high-end product, we're going to have the rookies in their pro jerseys. So that is what people are going to be craving with this Panini certified. You're going to have Trevor Lawrence in the Jaguars jersey rather than Clemson, which we've seen in the previous releases. So it's going to be Chaz, honestly, I think it's going to be a big week for sports cards the rest of the year, every week.
Oh,
Of course.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. All right,
Yeah.
guys.
All right, so last week, the very first episode, we came up with a pretty fun, interesting idea, which is the glossary section, right? Because a lot of people who may be getting into sports or sports cards, especially sports cards, may not know some of the terms that we use while talking on this podcast or at the show. Not the show, but at the store rather. So I guess glossary term of the week. I'll hand it over to whomever wants to do it.
Go
I'll
ahead,
take
Mark.
this one, Chaz. Yeah, sure. So, and again, if there's any terms you're unfamiliar with, just hit up Adventure Begins in store or on Facebook and let us know, like, hey, what does this mean? Because I'm sure we've just, as we're rampantly talking about sports cards, especially myself, we might just throw out these words and shorthand terms, and you're like, what is Mark talking about? So,
Well,
our
how about we
glossary.
do this? Like, just put it in the comments, right? And then
Right.
maybe we'll just air it on the next show. That way we have plenty to talk about. So the
Yeah.
glossary term of the week, Mark?
Glossary term of the week is blaster box. A blaster is typically a smaller box with packs of the retail version of a trading card set, typically around $20, and containing 4 to 10 packs, depending on the product.
All right, man. We've got tons of blaster boxes and a whole bunch of collectibles. You know, as what with sports names on them at the shop. So a lot of you guys don't know, but the Adventure Stadium is the Adventure Begins expanding, and the Adventure Stadium is going to be Preston's home. It's going to be his old land of sports memorabilia, cards, couches that I saw Bill looking at the other day, which
Yeah.
is nice. Sports are going to be played, man. He's going to have bats just in case you guys get out of line that have signatures on them. He's going to hit you across the face, and you'll have that signature on your face for the rest of your life. But that's going to open up at the end of the year. But for now, you can come visit us at the Adventure Begins Comics and Games on 1488, right next door to Escape, the movie theater. And if you're like, I don't know where that is, I'd like to drink, well, Tap's right next door. And then there you go. Now you know exactly where it's at. You can also shop these awesome sporting goods on shop.theadventurebeginstx.com. And you can not only find that, but you can find games and all the other stuff that we provide at the store. And check out the Adventure Begins TV show that drops every Monday on Roku through thewoodlandsonline.com. So I guess that's it, man. You guys have any last words?
No, it was a great conversation, guys. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Chaz. Come by the store and say hi.
Right on, man. Mark, got any final words? New segment?
No, it's just this is a fun time, man, and don't get too stressed about this Fanatics deal because we don't know exactly what's around the corner, but we do
Yeah.
know that there's plenty of tops and panini packs for you to rip at the Adventure Begins. So just have fun with the hobby, and we'll just keep the energy up. And like I said, it's going to be a fun year for sports cards.
That's right, man. So have fun and get upset when it's time to get upset, man.
That's
Stay
right.
tuned each week. Right? That makes sense, right?
Right.
Stay tuned each week for this show and be sure to check out The Adventure Begins. Just come on in, man. We'll welcome you with arms wide open as if we were Creed. Thanks for watching The Adventure Stadiums from Cards to Yards, a podcast show about sports and sports cards brought to you by The Adventure Begins Comics and Games. I'm Chaz, and on behalf of Preston and Mark, see ya, nerds.